Welcome to the British Roast. We specifically engineered this panel because in anticipation of all the questions you'd want to ask that you thought might be a bit inappropriate. So it's appropriate. Don't worry. Whatever it was you thought was, that's why we created this. So who would like to go first? I'm going to be judging on who is nicest to me, and then I will pick that person. Barb.
My first question is for you. How inappropriate are we?
Okay, on a scale of 1, I looked at Edouard over there.
On a scale of 0 to Harvey Weinstein, how inappropriate are we allowed?
Okay.
That's kind of what I want to know.
You can go Harvey. We can go Harvey.
You can go Harvey?
Up to the panelists.
Stephen, how old were you the first time you had sex?
She's gone straight in there.
She went straight for
The mic is off, so
straight for the jugular there, Barb.
That's funny. No, seriously, how old were you?
Okay.
my mic was off.
Is it?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Too late.
Would you like it?
No, it's good.
Steve, does this
Next.
remind you of anything?
Sorry? Yeah. Yes, it does. Yeah.
So we're done there. Okay. Next
Good thing this
question.
isn't streamed live, isn't it? Anyway.
Ian, knew you would.
A question for Mr. Stephen Forsey, as you seem to have problems with the last one. At the end of the last panel, you had mentioned that Global Forsey and yourself, full transparency, very, very open. All I want to know is, what will you be presenting at the SCHH? And it will not leave this room.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, well, as I said, full transparency in terms of our workshop and what we do there. But of course, you know, the thing is, it's very interesting actually, because when we Robert and myself had worked for 4.5 years to develop our first double tourbillon 30 degrees, and there we were in Baselworld 2004 in that fantastic Hall 5. I don't know, many of you may know it, but imagine a dark shed where they used to keep steam locomotives, but after about 100 years of that, so that it's completely black. And that was Hall 5, wonderful place. So we had a one showcase there, and the first journalist, I'd never done an interview before, and I won't name the kind journalist. And so they had a look at double tourbillon 30 degrees and said, yeah, that's very nice, very interesting, yeah, the original finish. What are you doing next? So you can tell after 15 years I'm a little bit sort of vaccinated to this sort of interrogative skills. Of course, you know, we could roll out our whole master plan that we have in our minds with Robert, but then there's no interest anymore, is there? You know, I think we all need to, you know, need to keep a little bit of excitement going and.
Don't worry, there's other brands.
Oh dear.
So thank you for the question, Ian. And, you know, watch this space. You know, if we cover it all here, what are you going to do? You won't have anything to justify all those fantastic trips for the next 3 months. Anyway.
Okay, Paul over there. Sorry, Paul beat you to it, Peter. Let's go, Paul.
It's a nice, easy one. Probably less for Stephen and Roger, but for the other two. Thoughts on Brexit and how it may or may not affect your business going forward?
You want to get that, Rebecca?
I mean, we're so early on and we don't really do much by the way of import-export at the moment. So in that sense, not really going to affect our business quite so much. I'm more concerned about what it's going to do for skill exchange in years to come and making sure that we maintain those relationships so people can travel and learn and bring those skills back to the UK. So that, I mean, until that's clear, it's really hard to, you know, I just wish they'd make it a bit more clear as to what the direction will be, but yeah.
I'd say what will be, will be. I think it's, we all face challenges. We all need to address them. We will go with the flow.
Peter.
Roger? Yeah. Okay.
Hi, Stephen.
Get away with that.
No, general.
What are you doing over there?
I wasn't meant to be here. So
Oh, yes,
this is
you were,
fun. Being
Peter.
over there is fun. I wouldn't
Peter,
want to be
you
over
were.
there, guys. I will have a
chair.
No, thank you. Okay, in relation to developments and what happens in the future, okay, 4 different companies, 4 different individuals. How far down the road are you actually planning in relation to future developments of future products? Okay, it's interesting because I know you're going to have an answer. Richard, you've spent many moons developing an incredible piece. So I'm guessing that you actually have other things in the pipeline already for the future. So just in general, how far ahead are you looking?
Not too far, to be honest, from a personal point of view. Just trying to satisfy current orders and think about where we are now. We've literally just launched, so I think that we need a little time to reflect upon that. But yes, everybody in the workshops has fantastic ideas, and sooner or later something may come out. Yeah, as Stephen said earlier, got to save the magic.
I'm not asking for details, I'm just asking for a rough idea of how long, not what the actual products will be.
Sorry, say again?
Roughly, my question is not what they are, because clearly you can't reveal that. That would spoil the magic. My question is more along the lines of how long down the line until these things actually, how long do you actually plan ahead?
I think we're probably the slowest people ever to bring a watch to market. So, yeah, somewhere between now and then. Yeah.
Next question. Okay, here we go. Sara is passing over the mic.
I would like to ask, what do you think about the unbalance that excessive finishing brought to watchmaking and the price tag that is attached to it? Since a good part of watches, we can say that 60% of the time that are spent in producing it is around finishing parts, not exactly around the functioning of the horological movement.
So yeah, I mean, it's for us to make 100 watches, 110 watches a year. We have a team of 22 people full time. They're not watchmakers; they're all hand finishers, and this was one of the things for Robert and myself that we really felt was missing. Again, you know, there's the I think the Swiss industry, even when it was coming out from the ashes in the early 90s through the 90s, there was still this approach that you had to make it faster and cheaper and so on and more efficient, and so beveling, yes, but nothing too exotic. And so for Robert and myself, we didn't set out saying we're going to do extreme finishing. We just said we want to use this finish, we want to do it like this, and we brought all these things to all these different elements together. And then you start to see how difficult it was. And at that time, the very first ones we did with barrel polished bridges and sharp internal and external corners, there were only perhaps 2 or 3 people in Switzerland who could do that, actually. So it was that was a real challenge. And since then, so we tried to build up a team, always in the hope that we'd be able to make a few more pieces to get close to demand. But it's, you know, it's a natural cycle, and you get to a size of a team, and this is completely out of watchmaking, but then the team fragments, and you get a little clan, and then people have a head-to-head, and that's it, and it's finished, and one person leaves or 2 people leave. So all the time you're trying to train people, and you keep on. But but certainly digital photography has transformed the way we can talk about it, the way we can share it with the public. And thanks to all of the forums and the collectors who have the time and resource to get into their and pick out those details, because that helps us to explain that, you know, it's not that we do it better than a company who sells a tourbillon watch for 50,000 or whatever in a bigger series, but it's just to understand what is the difference. Why is that more costly to make? Why is it going to command and necessitate a higher value, actually?
Roger, do you think the same?
Sorry, just to refresh the question is...
I was referring to the level of finishing that is used nowadays in mechanical watchmaking, and if that isn't unbalanced regarding the workmanship, the time you spend on it, regarding the actual conception of the movement.
I think for me it's all part
Since many watchmakers say they spend 60% of the time they need to produce a movement on finishing, on polishing, on black polish, which is beautiful, absolutely, but it comes with a price tag.
Yeah, I mean, you know, a great finish has always come with luxury, high-end watches, you know, going back to, you know, the days of Tompion. You know, incredible finish, incredible decoration. And that's been part and parcel of watchmaking for centuries now, and people expect it. So when I design a watch, yes, I'm designing every single component with style, or what I believe is style, and it's got to be very functional but also very attractive, and I put a huge amount of attention into every single spring, the profile of the plates, how they all sit and work together. I think about how I'm going to finish each component, the materials I'm going to use. But then it's not just about that. So I look at for me, the technical side of building a watch is hugely important. And I mean, I started working on the coaxial escapement in 1998 and never stopped learning about this incredible escapement. In 2006, I designed the very first mechanical watch to house the coaxial escapement, and that was, for me, a huge development phase, because nobody knows how to, at that point, nobody knew how to design a watch around a new coaxial escapement. George had done one-off pieces, and he'd made them obviously work. You know, it's easier on a one-off sort of basis, but when you're trying to create something new, you can't take the rules of design from the lever escapement because the requirements are totally different. So, you know, and obviously that sort of has now led to what we're doing today with the Mark II, and yes, it's a multi-thing. You know, it's all about the function, it's all about the finishing, and yeah.
Barbara. Or? Oh, sorry. Sorry.
This is specifically for Stephen.
It's my lucky day, isn't it? Thank you.
Knowing the fixed order in which the alphabet runs, how pissed off are you that the company isn't called Forsey Groiber?
Well, you said it yourself, you know. It's yeah, I mean, for Robert and myself, a lot of discussions about how to do it. And I tell you, actually, to put two letters like G and F together and make a logo is a hell of a challenge. And there's reams of paper of different attempts before we could find something that worked reasonably well. But we're quite unique in being two watchmakers to work together. You know, the historic brands, Patek and Philippe. One was a watch technician, and one was a commercial guy. Vacheron and Constantin, Girard and Perregaux. You know, these were Ulysse and Nardin. These are all pretty much combinations which were in a different way. So, you know, I mean, it's interesting what you say, because quite often collectors say to us, "Yeah, I just got my new Grobel," and I'm like, "I'm out of here." So, but it's all good. It's all good. It's all good.
I'm going to ask a real question this time. Actually, this is a two-part question. First, and this goes to each of you, so please do answer. Which watch brand makes your least favorite watch design? And you get a pass if the CEO is in the room.
You do.
Second question is for Steve. Why wouldn't you answer my first question? So that's for you guys.
I don't really have a least favourite watch.
You can't say you have to answer.
No, I think I take too much pity on other watchmakers, I think, because I know how hard it is. There are always things that you're not going to be happy with at the end of the day. So I can't do that to...
I'm with you on that.
It's really, it's so hard to run a watch company.
No, but I think, it's beauty is in the eye of the beholder, isn't it?
Yeah,
So-
there's always something cool.
In your opinion, what do you look at and you go, oh my God, my skin crawls?
Yeah, but then, if you're in a group of people and there's a guy, a gentleman or a lady with a watch and you think, oh my God, that's ugly. And then they love that watch. That's good. Some people, in fact, he's not here, one of our favourite journalists detests our asymmetric case design and has done since the very beginning. But he's weakening. It's taken time. I think, it's, as Rebecca, as they said, it's so hard. It's very difficult. Try never to criticise another brand or another piece because each process is so complex and you just can't transpose yourself into that position and say, clearly what they did is wrong, because with hindsight it's always much clearer. So it's very difficult, and there are things you say, well, I wouldn't have, you say to yourself, I wouldn't have done it like that, but we don't want to.
I'll throw the question back to you.
Yeah.
What roast dinner would you like to have? I mean, is it chicken or beef or
lamb, maybe?
It's all about personal taste.
That's why I was asking you guys what you were personal. Again, this is supposed to be a roast.
I have a few. Grubel Forcé, Charles Fodgemanco, Roger Smith, and I hated reading Rebecca's PhD thesis.
Is that from
You stayed
most
away.
least favourite? Or least favourite?
How did you have access? Yeah.
And how about for you, Barbara? Which is the watch you hate?
British or being roasted.
Come on, Barb. Yeah. Malika. Okay, Saved by Malika's Bell.
Do the British do it better? And if that question is ambiguous, please feel free to answer it any which way you like.
Watchmaking, you mean? Do they do it better? Well, today we're at an interesting phase in British watchmaking. And, I started down this watchmaking adventure, sort of making my own watches in 2001 after leaving, work with George Daniels. And it's been a huge sort of investment in time and energy over those, following years. And today we're joined by Rebecca Struthers and Richard in trying to sort of build, a real future for British watchmaking. We really are at an incredible point in watchmaking. When I first became interested in watchmaking, there's only George Daniels making watches, one watch a year in the Isle of Man. And here we are today with 3 people in Britain, possibly making 25-ish watches a year. But that is good. That is the start of something.
2,500% increase.
Yeah. I have 11 employees.
I've got 7.
7. I hope that one day some of my employees will leave my company and go out and start something of their own. They may even join up with some employees from Rebecca's or, Richard's. And we really are at a really exciting point, and I think we've got off to a great start. I hope you don't mind me talking about your watch, but Richard, they launched their new watch and it's completely fresh, completely new. It actually has a real history, genuine lineage, right the way back to the original makers. And they haven't just chosen to impose a movement and stick it in a case. They've actually tried to create something real, a completely new escapement. They've taken George Daniels' double wheel escapement and compacted it down into a wristwatch. This is world-class work. This is really putting the bar right up there for British watchmaking. The work that we're doing now in the Isle of Man, I started making the Series 2 back in 2006. We're now many years later, and in 2015, I launched the Mark II, which was a completely new movement to house the developments I've been making on the coaxial escapement. And today we have just started delivering these Mark II movements, and I think it's changing mechanical timekeeping. I no longer look at the coaxial escapement as just an escapement, a different escapement. We are, I mean, just to give you an example, the efficiencies of the coaxial are staggering. They really are staggering. And when I started, I used to recommend to the owners of their watches that it may need servicing every 4 years, every 5 years. Now with the Mark II, I'm saying every 10 years. I think privately, I don't expect to see some of these watches for 15, 20, maybe 25 years. And this is all thanks to this coaxial escapement and the development work. So here in Britain, we have some very unique watches, and we're fascinated by this improvement in timekeeping and so on. So for me, it's really exciting. And as far as I'm concerned, the days of the lever escapement are over. It's had its day. The efficiencies just aren't there. Power is delivered through a sliding action. It's old. It's had its day. It's time to move on, and we're here trying to make a difference in our own way. But importantly, we're creating a new and important and real story. So it's great times.
I would agree with that. I think that in answer to your question, we don't do it better, we do it differently. And that's probably the key to it all. There are us, there are a few others as well, not present in the room, but they're also doing similar things. And we all do it slightly differently, and we all do it to our very best. And therefore, we have our little British flag, and we wave it quite vigorously. And as Roger says, I think we're going forward. I think things will develop from this.
And then we have another one. The roastie becomes the roaster now.
Well, let's forget what we've said in the last couple of days, and let's imagine a world where you would have no choice but to have a brand ambassador, being an athlete or a Hollywood star. Who would that be for your brand?
You don't need it.
You do. That's a different world.
A complete waste of time.
Very little.
No, I mean, seriously, it's the watch is the important thing. Let the watch talk. The watch is the important thing.
That's
That's
what
all
we've
I
said
think
the
about.
last 2 days, but now
Pardon?
you need somebody to embody your brand. Who would that be?
Mickey Mouse? Yes.
I think we all think the same.
Here's a question for all four of you.
Yeah.
I'd like to ask each of you, who do you think makes the best watch out of the four of you?
Well, kind of out of that already. I haven't finished my watch yet, so it can't be good.
We're all doing our own thing, aren't we?
This would be a bit of British deferential stuff where everybody says it's somebody else's. Difficult to choose.
Oh,
isn't it?
no, don't try to get away with it. You have to answer.
We have to. Who makes the best watch?
Yes.
What are the criteria?
You're the watchmaker, you choose the criteria.
Tough, huh? Tough.
It's a spit roast, isn't it?
It is really, yeah. It's pretty painful in places, but they're...
Although you're all running from the fire.
Wouldn't you?
I think the charge, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you had a fire and you could take one watch with you, which one would you take?
Oh, yeah, good one.
And it's not yours.
Yeah.
So you have to leave yours and you have to take someone else's.
One of these three.
Tough, isn't it?
I'd take the Fortune. Direct connection back to George Daniels, back to, trace that back through to Breguet. And also it's innovative, it's different. And it's got the English theme, it's got the fascination, preoccupation with timekeeping and they've created something completely unique. So yeah, I'd go for that.
By the way, we only have time for 2 more, and it was, okay, fine, 3, Ian. Okay, it's Andrew, and then Suzanne, then Ian. And Mark, of course. Okay, no, we like Mark.
I mean,
okay,
we like to see watchmaking. We like to see watchmaking as a form of art, and I definitely believe it's like that. But why is this art mainly targeted to men only?
That's very, very, very chauvinist thing to say, Marc-Andre. I mean, we are not like that at all. We have lady collectors who like what we do, and I think that's But we don't want to make, for us, I don't know how it's, but we don't want to make a smaller watch which isn't as good. I always found it remarkable, and that ladies have such better eyesight than men. Especially as years go on, and they tiny little dials, remarkable, So, so I think and ladies deserve to have also a decent watch, something interesting, engaging, and fascinating as well. So, and that's a big challenge, and it's one we've been thinking of for a long time, and trying to find a way to keep the technical expectations there. Bring in the finish, make it engaging. But of course, it's like a lot of things that have to be honest, that men have designed for women just don't fit. We don't think the same way. It's what makes it so interesting. And so we have 2 lady designers in our team, working very closely with Robert in terms of creation, and trying to find something, trying to work on something very different, and which will also appeal, hopefully, to a more sensitive clientele.
So you have part of the answer.
No, I said they had remarkable eyesight because they always used to be so small. It's one of those things, you just make it smaller and smaller dials. I mean, how do you read that? It's just...
Suzanne.
So, come on.
Oh, okay, sorry there,
Somebody else
Rebecca.
On that, I wonder whether or not we just haven't had to focus as much marketing on women because we buy differently, maybe, I don't know. I kind of feel that women started wearing trousers over 100 years ago, and now we don't take issue with that. When we see a man advertising a watch, if we like that watch, we won't think, oh, but that's a man's watch, I won't wear that. Whereas if you started advertising gent-size watches on women, would men look at that and think, oh no, that's a woman's watch, I don't wear ladies' things. I don't know, maybe that's part of it, so we haven't had to focus on that.
So this is for everyone on the panel. Name one aspect of our industry that drives you absolutely mad. I mean, bottle of wine, hour-long rants sort of stuff. Don't be shy, we've all got one. Stephen? And then the rest.
What drives me mad? It's true that what drives me mad is that when we go to the trouble, we've worked for years on a new creation with innovation, perhaps with patents, really making something superb, and we take the trouble to talk one-to-one to journalists, and we have press presentation in SIHH, and then somebody stuffs up a picture with the headline of a $600,000 watch. That drives me mad, because there's no adequation of the work that goes behind it.
And yet, that will make people pay attention more than anything else you write there.
Yeah, but that's not what we want. It's not, it's
The wrong kind of attention.
not about the money. Yeah. I think it's the wrong image. It makes it look vulgar and displaced in a world where there are people who have nothing to eat. But if we didn't build the watches, we wouldn't have anything to eat either. So.
For me, I think it's we touched on it earlier. What's next? What's next? What's next? It's just, it is never ending.
I think one thing we can say, though, no one's asking you that because it took so long. I do have a question for this. I was at the British Horological Institute's 150th anniversary, and I saw a working prototype. I thought of this watch.
You did?
What have you been doing since then?
working hard on a case, style and hands. Just being a small firm, obviously things have to be paid for. So we've been doing other projects and building the thing up very slowly. It's fine. We like that approach.
And now back to Suzanne's question.
I've answered it. Over to you.
What do I dislike? Is it dislike? I suppose that for me, trawling through of the, British history books, picking a dead watchmaker's name and creating a new brand, and actually claiming to have direct connection to the person who died 300 years ago. It's pretty appalling, I think.
I think to follow on from that, as a historian myself, the kind of false history thing does get my goat a little bit, because it does no favours to the industry at all. So you've got people trying to do things properly and tell a true story, and then someone comes up with a really similar story and then it's kind of, do my clients see through that? Do they realise that I'm different, or do they think I'm doing the same thing as them? Yeah, it can be really hard to cut through that, I think. I
had a guy a few years ago who phoned up and he said, "Oh, I'm really, I'm thinking of buying one of your watches, and it's this whole boom in English watchmaking for me is so exciting." And he said, there's people like Arnold and Graham, and it's just so wonderful. And I said, "And have you been buying?" And he said, "Yes, I've just bought 3, over the last year or so, 3 Arnold watches." And it's just wonderful that this company's still going. And anyway, after the end of the conversation, I totted up. He spent about £60,000 on 3 watches that he believed had a direct connection to John Roger Arnold. I didn't even have the balls to tell him that this wasn't the case, but that is...
He knows now.
It's bad. It's bad, isn't it?
I think he just found out. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
You just told him.
Yes.
Andrew has been patiently waiting.
Yeah.
And he's ready to finish you all.
All right, so as it's the end of the meal, and picking up on Edward's point that this is English-made and this is or British-made watches, if you were to make a case out of cheese, what English cheese would you? Which English cheese would you pick?
Oh, definitely Stilton. Stilton. Yeah.
Good, strong, blue-veined
yes,
cheese.
Yeah, and
British through and through.
Definitely. And it goes well with port wine and all sorts of things. Definitely.
I'd say Lancashire cheese.
Of course.
Yeah. No, actually, Lancashire cheese is the finest cheese in the world. It's sensational on anything. I mean, as a child, I used to have, I don't do it now, honestly, but, as a child, instead of Parmesan on my spaghetti bolognese is a good old grating of Lancashire cheese, so.
All right.
Yes, I don't. Don't worry, I don't do it now.
Rebecca?
Cheese is such an incredible thing, isn't it? That's probably the hardest question of all.
Apparently hard enough for
You can't beat a good old cheddar, can you? A bit of bite, yeah. Or maybe a yarg. I'll kind of be between. Yeah.
Winsley.
Oh,
Have you been roasted enough? Fully roasted?
No, that's it.
Okay, for our special guest, Aldous. And we don't play favorites.
When my man asked what ambassador you may get, not one of you thought about the only actor in the room, the only actor in the world that happens to be a watch designer watchmaker. I'm selling all your watches back out. No, actually, I actually did have one real question. Worst encounter you've had with a client?
Nice.
Worst encounter in a lift when he dropped it. Yeah, he dropped the. Yes, sorry. No, not the trousers. No, I don't know what you're talking about. He dropped the watch in the lift, and he said, "Yeah, but okay."
Oh.
They know, but they don't want to say.
Rebecca doesn't have any clients.
We've been really lucky so far. I'm waiting for the one. I mean, there's always going to be one, isn't there? But we have been really fortunate. I think because we are so small, the people who find us tend to be quite genuine collectors and really get their watches. We haven't had yet. Touch wood. Yeah.
Waiting
for that one. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think we're the same. You know, people. We're not out there. People don't really know about us. People have to find out about us, and you know. So by the time they come to us, they're kind of bought into what we're trying to do, and that makes life great. You know, a lot more interesting, and yeah, it's a different world.
And there you have it. After they all left Stephen hanging. Thank you so much for coming to the roast, and thank you for giving us this half an hour to, you know, do as we wished. And have a good evening, everyone, unless we see you later. Thank you. Thank you.
Supporting us over the past 2 days, and for the incredible, fascinating panel that we've had with these incredible individuals, and we've learned so much. And without the support of each and every one of you in this room today, and the ones that were here yesterday, today wouldn't have been possible. 3 years of Dubai Watch Week wouldn't have been possible, and everything we plan to do over the next 10 to infinity years would not be possible. So thank you very much from the bottom of all our hearts at Dubai Watch Week to this amazing panel and every one of you in this room. Thank you.